Hello and welcome back to the 816 and 660 podcast. I'm your host, Joe Ramos, and today we'll be going over the battle against the Tennessee Titans in this past matchup on Sunday. This past Sunday, we took on the Tennessee Titans, and the cover of the game, or the spread, some would say, was 12 and a half points. And that is something I didn't believe to reign true because the Titans are a very slept on football team. Their defense, especially their front four, is something that I was not scared of, but something to be reckoned with for sure. Very good, especially in Jeffrey Simmons. But he came out and said before the week that, there's something that can really be exposed on that offensive line. And if you've learned from the past, Shaq Barrett from the Bucks had something to say like that where they could really impose their will. And it was something that was true in the running game, but when it came to the passing game, Mahomes delivered and went off. And speaking of Patrick Mahomes, absolute animal, as some would say, dog. Uh, he did have to throw the ball 68 times, completing 43 passes for 400 and some odd yards. Uh, Passing touchdown. Did have an interception, but that is something we'll cover later. But it was just a battle, back and forth. Defenses from both teams stepped up. Really not a lot rolling in the first half, and really proud of the Chiefs on how they handled this football game. Yes, Patrick Mahomes was again Magic Man. 400 and some odd passing yards, over 500 total yards on the day because he also rushed for 6 times, rushing for 63 yards and a touchdown. You don't really see a lot of yards out of him, but when he has to, he scrambles. And you've seen that in the past against the Tennessee Titans where he's taken off, shown his legs, and honestly dropped his shoulder to get in the end zone. And that man, towards the end of the football game, really showed his anger, and that anger got the best of him in a success. Absolute just animal. I just sometimes he does things that surprise me, and why am I surprised anymore? I believe the best quarterback in the NFL, my MVP so far this year. Other credits to other guys out there right now, and Jalen Hurts and whatever that guy's name is, Josh Allen. Yeah, that guy's pretty good too. But Patrick Mahomes just so good, really, really, really good at football, and he always surprises me from week to week. But moving on to more guys that had a lot of success in this game, but also struggled a little bit. Travis Kelce, 10 receptions, 106 yards. Did bobble a football for an interception that, it is what it is. A lot of things that kind of went wrong, but also we fought and battled the whole game. And Travis Kelce came through when it mattered, especially a big play in OT coming back for the ball where it was potentially thought to be a pick. Juju Smith Schuster, starting to keep improving week by week. Probably our number one option in the receiving room now. Always finding the spot. You can see his connection with Mahomes is just unmatched. People were really trying to expose us at the beginning of the year. Tyreek's gone. What are you going to be able to do without Tyreek? Oh, Keenan Allen saying, wow, that's going to expose some people. Who's that exposing now? I mean, I don't like to talk too much shade and throw so much shade, but he's finding people. As long as you have 15 at the helm, he's going to find his open receivers. He's going to do his job. And Juju had, I believe here it says 10 receptions, 88 yards, getting open when it mattered, finding the spots in the field. Another dog on our offense. I believe that's a guy we need to keep in Kansas City for a long time. Just really playing well. I didn't expect this guy to come in and be honestly such a good leader too for our offense for some of the younger guys that we have. And then moving on from that, you have McCole Hardman. This was supposed to be a so-called breakout year for him. People were talking about it, how he needs to step up, and he's been stepping up very well in these past few weeks. McCole Hardman, that just best ball of his career. About 60 to 80 yards, I believe he had in this past game, and he's really stepping up. Also had a touchdown in the game too. I'm just really proud of this receiving room that we have. Everybody's playing well together. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Dogs, especially in McCole Hardman. He's a Georgia Bulldog. Came from there. So big pickup that he's been these past few years, but he's really showing that he really is that guy with his speed and the dynamic routes that he can run. It's really impressive. Now we talk about our newest pickup in Kadarius Toney. Let me tell you, that guy's been healthy the last 6 weeks. He was just fooling the New York Giants. He wanted out. He didn't want to be there anymore. And we got him involved on the first play of the football game, just trying to get him some comfortability in that offense. And even in plays that he wasn't involved in, he was running some of the nastiest routes, throwing some of the biggest blocks in the game. I mean, he put Bud Dupree on his cheeks with a chip block. Guy comes in and comes out and plants this guy on his bootay. Man, that guy was imposing his will, even though he only had 2 receptions for 12 yards. His route running that he had, laying sticks on the ground, like, oh my goodness, just a guy that I'm so excited to see here in Kansas City. Excited for his future, what he may build on this year to the team. Just very impressive, very good football player, and he's obviously picked up on this offense already. That bye week did definitely help him to be able to learn the offense a little bit more. Very proud of what he's doing, and Brett Veach is taking those chances on these young guys, and it seems to be turning out good for the Kansas City Chiefs. And like I said, excited for the future that these guys have. A thing that really needs to be talked about also is the run game that needs to be figured out in this coming weeks. We had, I believe, 14 attempts between the 3 running backs and our fullback, only coming in at 13 yards. Granted, the Tennessee Titans do have a really good front four in the rush game, and Patrick was able to get outside the pocket when it came to passing, but you got to be able to block. You also need your guys to hit holes quicker. There's sometimes some run plays just didn't develop, and to be able to open up our pass game and maybe impose those play action passes, you have to run the ball well. And we didn't do that well all game, except for Patrick, who had those, like I said earlier, 6 rushing attempts for 63 yards and a rushing touchdown as well. Um, but other than him, if he's our rushing leader as a quarterback that's not known to be like a primary running quarterback, that's not good. So that's something we need to figure out in the coming weeks. I'm sure we will. Andy Reid and hopefully Eric Bieniemy can figure that out on the offensive side of the football. And speaking of Eric Bieniemy, all the controversial stuff that's gone on with him. Yes, he's still a good coach, but there's things he has to figure out, or else I believe he'll be on his way out of Kansas City during the offseason. Just some controversial things with him in the past, not getting head coaching jobs. I really thought he deserved one, but now looking at how he interviews, how he shows up to interviews, just his professionalism. Sometimes you can see it's not there. But if things don't straighten out, he will be on his way out of Kansas City for sure. Kansas City Chiefs defense. My man and producer Kellen McKinney kind of called this last week on last week's episode. He said this second half of the season is going to be where we impose our will on defense. We won't have to rely on the offense as much, and this defense is really going to show out. They really only gave up 3 big plays the entire game. The first offensive play the Titans had, they took it 48 yards down the field, which that is what it is. And then Derrick Henry had 2 big runs that basically set him up. Sorry, I apologize on the mess up. Set him up for 2 touchdowns. I looked at my dad earlier in the game before the game started too, and I was like, Derrick Henry's going to score 2 touchdowns. He's going to have over 100 yards. But we're going to find a way to win this football game because we're going to try to expose Malik Willis, force him to throw the football, and try to contain him on the run as best as we can because we know he's a mobile quarterback. But we hold Derrick Henry to 2 rushing touchdowns, and we're going to win this football game. And that is what it is. Derrick Henry, 6'4", 6'5", 240-pound, runs a 4.4. I mean, that guy's going to get in the end zone at some point during the game. If not, he's going to have over 100 yards. But it comes to the second half. Chiefs are down. They had 27 defensive snaps, the Chiefs did, and allowed 7 total yards. Unheard of, unmatched. We want the Chiefs defense to step up, and they're doing it. It always comes in the second half. Second half of the season, what I want it to be all year, consistent year round, yeah, but sometimes just teams start slow, and it is what it is. But if they have all the confidence in the world, and they played without one of their key players, and Frank Clark, who's actually been a lot better this year with his speed off the edge, and he's only out one more week, I think we'll be fine. The guys are playing well. They're all coming together, and they just balling out. Trent McDuffie rookies had now 45 defensive plays, I believe, to where ball's been thrown at him, and they've completed, I believe, at most 2 passes. I could be wrong, but I think there's only been 2 completions on Trent McDuffie this year as a rookie, star in the making. Chris Jones got his half a sack when him and Carlos Dunlap were coming together on that final drive to get Malik Willis down when he was out scrambling in the pocket. And Yeah, Carlos Dunlap's been a big pickup for us. He's been playing really well, rushing the ball well. Colin Saunders, I think best game of his career, had a sack on that final drive in OT too. 6 tackles, a couple tackles for losses, a sack. Big game for him. He's been producing really well these past few games, and I'm just really excited to see what this defense can do in the coming weeks, especially with the Jags coming to town, who I believe have a good run game, a good running back, and also on their defense, a good pass rush. A guy we try to get in Josh Allen, not the Bills Josh Allen, the Jags Josh Allen, the DN. That's a really good guy, but with the cap space and all those issues, probably weren't going to bring him in anyways. But I believe in Brett Veach. He's done his things very well in football, so just excited. I keep reiterating that. I love what we're doing in Kansas City with the defense and offense. Yeah, they need to get better this next week. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes had 446 passing yards, but if you look like at his stats compared to like actually watching him play, probably wasn't the best game of his career, but he still figured it out when it mattered, and that's what he. The thing you need to learn about playing the Kansas City Chiefs, if you get an interception and you go celebrate in their end zone and you're up on the Chiefs by anywhere from a touchdown to 10 points, 2 possessions, don't do it. Don't celebrate against the Chiefs because that'll light a fire in them that you have no idea what it's going to unleash. Kansas City will roll and they'll flip the switch because that's just what they can do. I mean, out of nowhere, I guess the Chiefs should just show up with 4 minutes left. It'd be nice if they could fire on all cylinders on all 3 aspects when they're at home. I mean, when they're on the road, they manhandled the Bucks, manhandled the Cardinals, manhandled the 49ers. So obviously they can handle it on the road, but at home I'd like to see that more, especially with your home crowd. But Arrowhead will always have the Chiefs back, especially when that defense is on the field, get loud. But we're also loud for that offense too when they score, make big plays. So get rolling early on Sunday, and that'll lead to good things for the Chiefs to hopefully go 7-2 into their next game. Big win, 20-17 in OT. Very excited for this next week. So excited and so very excited for this football team in this next week. But coming up next, it is time for the McKinney Minute.
Hi, I am Kel McKinney, and welcome to the McKinney Minute. This was a suggestion given to me by my father. Kyle, good job, good call. All right, so to start us off, I'm going off on last week's comments. I was right. You know, we can give up 2 runs, 2 big old runs, 2 touchdowns to Derrick Henry. It's Derrick Henry. I mean, what do you expect? They don't have A.J. Brown anymore, so I'm not worried about that. They got Malik Willis. He's a rookie. Big deal. I'd rather have him than Tannehill. So I think our defense looked amazing. McDuffie's back, step for step on every receiver that he covered. The man's a dog, as Joe would say. Anyway, Chris Jones, yeah, need I say more? He's a unit. A unit. I just think that he's going to get Defensive Player of the Year this year. And if he keeps up performing, and just gets a couple more sacks and a couple more tackles for loss, this case is going to be made. I mean, love Aaron Donald, but man, Chris Jones is making a case for himself this year. And with that said, that wraps up the McKinney Minute. Thank you for tuning in. Back to Joe.
Thank you to my man Kellen for that McKinney Minute. Anyways, that'll wrap up this week's episode of 816-660 Podcast. We'll be back next week as we discuss the outcome of the game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Anyways, we'll see you next time. Deuces.